I'm just happy that Uncle Lou's not going to drink another Diet Coke or Coke from 1980.
He must
Boy, talk
be
about a guy
ecstatic.
He's going ballistic. I was on his live stream and talk about a guy that's not ready to party. It's Uncle Lou right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised he was able to do a live stream after the game.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of talking right now. He's having a good old time.
I bet he's having a great time.
Mark, you probably remember that team in 1980. What was that? Bud Ballou, Herschel Walker,
Terry
Lindsey
Hogue.
Scott. Yeah. They beat Notre Dame in, I think, was Dan Devine's last game down in the Sugar Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, because Jerry Faust took over in 81. So, yes, they did.
Right.
I remember it well. I shouldn't say I remember the game well. I watched every play of it. And I think Terry Hogue was such a good defensive back. I think he got like a top 5 to 6 Heisman consideration. And, of course, Herschel Walker was the star.
Right. Well, the next 2 years they were in the Sugar Bowl, they ran into the state of Pennsylvania. Dan Marino threw an absolute dime to beat him in 81. And then, Air Paterno beat him in 82 with Black legend Kurt Warner.
Yep. Yeah, two really good games. Yep.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to Georgia. They deserved it. I thought that coming in, I thought that there was a case that they could have had the better roster. Obviously, you look at recruiting rankings, they've recruited, I believe, more 5-stars than anybody else in the country, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think we're second at Ohio State on overall 5-stars on rosters, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that the difference in rosters, if you want to call it that, is so inconsequential. I would just say that these are the 2 best teams in the country. Right. And 2 of the 3 most talented. I think it's pretty obvious to see that. And to see that and also match it up with the statistics.
Well, one thing I'm going to throw out there, Mark, we always talk about quarterback play. Football is more quarterback driven now than it ever has been. It's interesting, the last 5 national championship quarterbacks, you stop to think about it. Deshaun Watson, Tua, 18 was Trevor Lawrence, 19 Joe Burrow, last year Mac Jones. Obviously, Watson's going through a situation, but all pretty much starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know. Is it a stretch to say that Stetson Bennett probably won't be a starting quarterback in the NFL?
I can't see it, but who am I to sit here and count him out?
True. Hey, he made the big plays in the fourth quarter. I mean, Georgia's defense kept them in that game, and as an Ohio State fan, we remember losing a big-time wide receiver in a national championship game, right, Mark?
Yes. Yeah, who am I missing here?
So, well, I was going to say Ted Ginn in 06.
Oh, Ted Ginn. Yeah, sure.
I mean, not to say I think that would have made a difference, but I think Ginn was a big part of that offense that year. It was a huge loss. But, I mean, I don't think Alabama fans should make any excuses. Even though Jameson Williams was big for them this year, it would have been interesting to see, had he not gotten hurt, just kind of what effect that would have had. Because I wonder, obviously you utilize your best receivers, but, I mean, Georgia was the better team, and their defense was incredible, by the way, and gave their offense a chance in that fourth quarter. I don't know, what's your overall thoughts on?
Well, I think we tackle these kind of topics all the time, and that's one of the reasons why we're here. So, if an Alabama fan wants to call and just talk and speculate about if they would have had Jameson Williams, if they would have had John Mechie, I think that's valid. We can go through the annals of time and talk about any championship scenario and injuries that occurred during the game or before the game. And of course, this whole Nick Saban era was started with Colt McCoy, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the country, getting hurt very early in the game. So Texas fans will raise that just so it's done with a level of class and respect to say, hey, it's part of the game. We didn't play with those guys. We had to play with the guys that we have. That's all also part of a championship team as well. being able to sustain
Sure.
the injuries and the next guy to step up and bring it home. So I think it's a balanced conversation to have.
Right, and I doubt Alabama fans, if a key Georgia player got hurt and Georgia brought that up, they would, I wonder if they would let them use that against them. So, you're right. You got to be fair about this both ways. But yeah, Georgia deserved that. Defense was incredible. I thought in that fourth quarter, though, I really was wondering after Bennett had that turnover in the fourth quarter if that was going to be curtains for them. But he had a few huge throws. Was wondering if his receivers were going to finally get open and make some plays, and it looks like they finally did in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, they really did. They really did, and I, like you, thought. I thought that it was very unfortunate, and I'm not saying that they made the wrong call on the replay, because technically the ball left his hand before it was forward, before he brought the arm forward. But I just felt that to be unfortunate, that, especially comparing that play to the Bryce Young play, they're very similar plays. Bryce Young was not throwing a football. He was basically spiking a football on the ground. But because of the rules, he gets away with that. And Stetson Bennett doesn't get away with what. Yeah, was he trying to get rid of the football as well to avoid a sack? Yeah, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to do the same thing Bryce Young. And I understand it's more than just intent. It's also, what's the motion of the body? And at one point, you have to make a delineation between fumble and pass thrown. And, the rules need to be clear. And so the interpretation of the rules were clear, and they were correct. But just to see those two plays go in opposite directions, I felt bad for Georgia at the time, because it just seemed to be, again, another time in which they wouldn't quite get the breaks.
Yeah, it was amazing the way the guy was able to still recover that before getting out of bounds.
Yes.
He's kind of fortunate, I think, that way too, wasn't he, Mark?
Yeah, I don't know if he was trying to do that or not. It didn't look like he was. It looked like he was just picking up the football, but it turned out, at least in the moment.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be interesting going forward how these teams, I think these teams will obviously be ranked very high going into next year. Going forward, I think my Buckeyes will be ranked pretty high, of course, but we'll see. Have to see who leaves to go to the NFL and all of that going forward. But, congrats to Georgia. You took down the Death Star. It took you some tries, but you finally did it. And, a good friend of mine is a diehard Georgia fan. And I gave him a shout out tonight for their victory. So it was a big win. And Uncle Lou's going to party like it's 1980. Right, Mark?
There you go. All right, David, thank you so much for it. I appreciate it. Mark. Have a good night.
You take care of yourself. Yep, bye-bye.